Mrs. Burford would read our vision statement.
Sure. Madison County Schools, in partnership with the community, strives to equip educators and students with the skills to lead by example, to develop and speak with a unique voice, and explore their academic curiosity to make a positive impact on our community and world.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. And next on our agenda item is audience comments regarding agenda items. And we do have a community member, Miss Michelle Burke, who is asked to speak. So if you want to come on up, Miss Burke, you can have the podium.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I just want to say my name is Michelle Burke, and I would first like to thank the district for attending the American Rescue Plan community meeting, where we shared our thoughts on the American Rescue Plan Education Fund disbursement. I am honored that you joined us. I am the mother of 2 Madison Central High School students. I am also a parent representative executive board member for Kentucky Association of School Councils, and I am a parent representative advisory council member for the Pritchard Committee Groundswell Initiative for Family Engagement. I know that's a lot to say. I am here today to represent the parent voice for how we feel the third relief package of the elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds should be spent for our district. The American Rescue Plan is an extension of the elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds, also known as ESSER, and our Richmond School District has been awarded $22.9 million in funds. The American Rescue Plan requires that districts create education recovery plans that include funding for tools to measure learning loss among students and after-school and summer enrichment programs. They must also create education interventions that address learning loss and the social and mental health needs of the students. All interventions must equitably address the unique needs of students living in poverty, experiencing homelessness, learning English, or living with a disability. The Madison County Board of Education must submit their plan to the KDE by July 31st. We parents are asking, because you have on your agenda to approve the ESSER funds, what plans do you have in place for the ARP requirements, such as what tools are you going to use to measure learning loss among students because of COVID? What after-school and summer enrichment programs are you implementing? What education interventions that address learning loss have or will be created? How will the social and mental health needs of students be newly addressed? And how do you plan on ensuring that this is done equitably for all students, especially the 40% of our students living in poverty? And how are you tracking the education achievement of our homeless students? And are you implementing interventions that address the needs of students learning English and students with disabilities? And parents have given me special requests that they asked me to speak about. They asked for safe, accessible after-school centers for students of all ages, coordinated physical activities for elementary students, a trust for art supplies, including the culinary arts, a trust for instrument purchases for all 21 county schools of Madison County to bank from, and K-12 scholarships for students to use during the K-12 years for extracurricular activities. And please remember that all Madison County parents, guardians, and families want their children to succeed. And we are counting on you, the school board, to help us bring the ability for the highest of student achievement for all Madison County children. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Burke. We really appreciate that. And I think some of those questions will be answered here in just a little bit. So thank you for speaking. All right. Okay, so let's move on to our next agenda item, which is our consent agenda. And these are items that we basically block approve. So the items in and the consent agenda are to approve the minutes of our June 10th regular meeting and the June 18th special meeting, approve the claims, the acknowledgement of the superintendent's personnel actions, acknowledgement of leaves of absence, to approve the non-resident contracts for 2021-2022, review of the 21-22 Code of Acceptable Behavior, and review of the 21 procedure updates. Do we have any questions on any of these consent agenda items? No questions? Okay. With no questions, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Motion carries. And next on our agenda item are our monthly reports. And first up, we have our instruction report on summer school with Dr. Alicia Hunter.
Hello. I want to talk to you guys just a little bit about our summer learning programs that have taken place, and a few of them that are still going on. And a few of them are still going on and will continue to go on up until the week just before school starts. So this summer has been a little different than summers in the past because we have honestly been talking about this summer learning experience maybe since January. We've been planning this summer learning with our principals, with our teachers, with our community, really wanting to make this summer learning experience more robust than it's ever been before. So I wanted to report just some numbers and just a few things that have taken place. We have had district-wide a little over 2,000 students who have taken advantage of these summer learning programs district-wide. And that is from kindergarten all the way through our high school. And that, I think, is just phenomenal because typically we just don't have that many who are able to or who can. And it is because we have a little different mindset. Typically, summer is finishing up the year that has just taken place. And with our high school, we did do some credit recovery and some of those, but we did other things as well. But this summer, we really wanted to push forward into this coming school year so we could start identifying some of those learning gaps, so we could start looking at some of that social emotional learning, and so we could also start with some of our students who weren't even in the building this school year. We brought them to the building so we could introduce them to our building so they could start meeting their friends, so they could start doing that. We worked in small groups, and we had some ACT workshops. We took some field trips. We did all of those things this summer and are still doing that. So this summer learning experience, and those numbers even include our migrant program. So some of those English language learners have been included in this. Those numbers include our special population. And one of the big idea that we've had is we've provided transportation. So we've been able to provide access to all of our population. All of our students have had the opportunity to come, work in small groups, work with their teachers, and our teachers have been phenomenal. You know, they've been going. So our summer learning program has been pretty great. Pretty excited about it.
Do you think the transportation has made a huge impact?
It has made a tremendous impact. That has been a huge barrier, I know, several years before because our people have told us before, I would come if I had transportation. Well, we removed that barrier and said, okay, we will provide transportation. And I think that's one of the reasons why we had the great turnout that we've had.
Typically, the number is less than half of that, isn't it?
Or less than that.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah. Or less than that.
I've said all along that, you know, some things we've learned with COVID that, you know, hopefully we'll never have to do that again. But some things we've learned that really help and are different and new. And maybe transportation next summer is another thing that we can evaluate to continue, because we can't expect these kids to learn, catch completely up in one summer. You know, it's going
Right.
to take
Yep.
continued effort. So hopefully maybe we can plan on
We've
evaluating for
already
transportation next
talked
year.
to our principals and said, this is a small step in a much bigger process. We know that this is just getting started, and Dr. Gillum has already talked with our principals and said, you can plan on this for next summer and probably even the next. Yep.
So do we find it that it's students who have struggled in one particular subject taking classes, or do we find that there are students also that have done well, but say, I want to get ahead?
Yes, both of those.
Okay.
To both of those. Because like I said, at the high school, we even had ACT workshops. So we brought those students in. So we have students in all different levels that we helped with this summer. I talked with the principal yesterday, and he said we had students come in who were 2 grade levels below, but we also had students who needed some help with just some social emotional and who were just a little bit below and wanted to just get ahead. And so we had small groups of students all across the board.
I love the fact that you're bringing in the students that were on our distance learning platform who hadn't been in the building. That will help once school starts if they are in the groups that come back in. That's awesome.
And I think we've done the ACT workshops in the past, haven't we? Or, okay, so good. I hope we continue that.
I think the parents probably are more concerned, well, obviously her, but they're more concerned and more into letting their children come for the summer programs versus it being a burden to them to try to get their kids to school or something like that. Now they're thinking, my kid needs the help to get to school.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think because it was a different mindset, it wasn't seen as like a punishment. It was seen as a we're getting ready for this next school year, not as a you have to sit here for 2 weeks and finish up what you didn't do. It was more of a we're pushing forward. I think you're absolutely right about that.
This may change that whole dynamic of how we get
I
folks
sure
to
hope so.
school.
I sure hope so.
We'll
Yep.
take on a different mindset completely.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas, are you okay? All right, Mr. Thomas is here for our construction report.
Good evening. That got around to me fast. So, a lot going on this summer, as you already know.
Keeping you a little busy.
Yes, yes, as we all are. So I'll begin the construction report at Berea, and let's see, I get controls, don't I? Fantastic. So here's a picture of the storm shelter, and this a few days ago, so they're even further along than this now, but you can see the form work and the concrete going up and around, and that concrete structure in the middle with the door, with a hole in it will be the door from the lobby, and there's a closer picture of it as well. You can see the rebar on either side of it. And this is the other side, which now has that formwork taken off, so you can see the whole concrete wall. And of course, this is going to be lovely brick when it's all finished, not a big concrete box. Utility work going in here. They put the fire and the water vault in, and you can see a fire hydrant there. Masonry is going up. If Richmond's not careful, they're going to catch up with them in Berea. So, so they are really moving. You can see how vertical they've gone with the block there. Here you can see a typical classroom arrangement between you're in the lab looking into the classroom where you'll have lots of vision with the windows there, and then the higher windows that you can see through those windows are the ones that go into the corridor beyond. So you can start to see really what's going on there. And again, just a picture of some frames and how low the frames are to the ground, so you have good vision there. Here's an office area. Again, someone can stand in that office. There's a window on the corridor in. There's a window into the corridor that leads them from the hallway back to the office, and then there's a window right on the right as well, so you can see into the lab. These are the large openings for the diesel lab there, where they'll be able to roll big trucks in. I think those are 14-foot high doors there, 14-foot high and 14-foot wide, so going to be quite a lab there. And here's just a picture standing back away. You can see really how high, they're almost getting to burying height in that section of the wall there. We're at on the bus garage side, looking back towards the engineering lab. And here you can see a lot of the concrete is poured, the scaffold's up, getting the walls up high to bearing height. So just tremendous progress there, utilities. Before I move to Richmond, any questions on Berea?
Oh, really nice.
Yes, yes, it is. It is there. Even though there's been some really rainy days, there's been some good sunshiny days too, and they've taken advantage of it. So we'll move to Richmond, and here we are from the bypass. The image we've kind of been waiting for. You can see it begin to tower up from the bypass there, and there were no cars behind me when I took this picture. So if we zoom in on that a little bit, you can see right here. It's not showing. How about that? I thought can you? But anyway, where you see the columns hitting the ground, there's piles of earth, and all of that's going to go away. So you're almost going to be able to see all the way to the floor to see that colored entry in the doors. So there's a lot of cut to the grade there still to happen. And if we get closer, then there's a close-up shot of the tower. And then there's the structural entry piece where the doors will fit in there, and that will be the piece that's painted a different color, and then all that is still going to be a lot of glass with towering columns. And similar to what we were looking at Berea, you can see the storm shelter door there. Now that will be covered with block, and what you're seeing in the pocket there'll be storm shelter doors that are recessed but open. So they're just not like doors that are typically held open and in the way. These are going to be recessed back in the pocket. The only time they would ever really need to be closed is an event of a storm, which we don't want and would be very unlikely. Because there's another set of doors right behind there, which will be your daily active communicating and lockable doors, so you can lock the gym as well. So this is the gym from the other side. This was actually a picture from last week because they had just poured that slab. You can see all the mechanical in. There's another shot from the opposite corner of the storm shelter there. Again, going to be beautiful brick. And the storage area. If you remember, there's an extra storage building on the other side of the labs, and they actually have some. I got another picture where they've actually got some steel in there now, and the trench. I'm sure the neighbors can hear the rock trenching, but they've been really good about it, as well as the contractors trying to do it just during the meat of the day, getting a lot of utilities in. Here you can see where the big windows into where like health nursing and CAD and law. So that will be where the big windows are. Of course, most of the windows, you remember in the renderings, are kind of frosted, so because otherwise that faces east, so that could be a lot of light getting in there, but it's going to be a beautiful amount of daylight coming in there. Here you can see just a lot of concrete. There's a tower in the background there. And here's this structure on top of the shelter area there. I'm sorry, I call it a shelter, the storage area. So they'll finish that pretty quick. A simple building. Again, it looks like we're on snow there, but that's that really white concrete with the sun beating down on it. You can see some more masonry walls going up around the end there. And this is the brick panel. I wanted to show you the brick panel. And if you see the white mortar on the black, that's not really what we were looking for. And I'm going to show you our rendering. Get up close here. If you look in our rendering, we had showed some really dark mortar, and that almost looks like a black pier with gray mortar and then the red brick over on the side. So what I had them do was to stack more brick on top of there. And you can't really see it, but there's actually, in the red brick, there's an area of gray just below the black mortar. Because the mortar they brought us, even though the sample showed gray, it's turning yellow, and you can almost tell there's a little bit of a yellow tint to it. And I didn't notice that much until I really got up to it close. So we have played around with 2 or 3 colors since the last time I brought you this picture, and finally got to the point where on the black we're going to use the dark gray charcoal mortar. And I apologize for the picture. They had not cleaned that black yet. It looks good now. I just stopped by there and they've cleaned it, and well, you can see how clean the black will get below. And it will look much more like that, what we're looking for. And then in the red brick that you see there, there's another, oop, here we get closer to the red brick there. The dark mortar is just too dark. It's just really it's just gonna saturate it so much that it would almost look like a black wall. You can see it almost makes that brick look a lot darker. So we're gonna go with the gray on the red, which is not much different than what you all expected all along anyway. In fact, that's what you did expect. It's just not what they gave us in the mortar. And then the darker black. So I wanted to let you all know I switched up the mortar on the black brick a little bit, even though I showed you a picture earlier. So that is it for, and there's some more pictures of the rendering. Any questions on the brick or anything that we just discussed on the Area Technology Center in Richmond?
It looks like a lot of progress. Are we still on time?
January 1st is probably tight, but at this point, they are telling us yes. If we have good weather between now and January 1st, I don't know why the owner couldn't start moving stuff in around that time. Can you go to school on January 3rd or 4th or whatever it is? We discuss at our progress meetings that at the end of August, we're all going to come together, sit down, really look at the schedule, and they need to tell us, are you going to make it or not? Because they've claimed several weather days, which they legitimately could have, but we've not done anything officially to the contract to change that date, because they're on board, but they're real team players, and we're all sitting around, we all understand you officially may have, 60 days or something that were horrible weather, but they know we want to get in there too, and they're saying, let's not do anything officially, let's see where we are at the end of August. So hopefully I can come to you at the September board meeting and say, they've committed to this date and we're going to move forward, or if we need to discuss something at that point. But as of today, the beginning of January is still their deadline for the Area Technology Center. And March for late March, I guess, for the Career Technology Center in Berea as well. Still on track. Well, if we go to Clark Moore's, now we got a new one to start pictures of, but of course, boy, trigger happy today. They've moved stuff to the site. That was this morning. They've got their erosion control. They've got their perimeter fence. They've got some equipment. There was a guy in his truck there ready to start work. I've got a few. I'm going to repeat some pictures as we kind of watch the development go. This will be a view that I'll take each time. That is when there's any progress going on at that point. There's a view that will repeat. Here's a view. We'll see how the lovely tower, the HVAC tower that we've all loved, kind of disappears over time with new addition. And then this is around the back, that's the back of the cafeteria. We'll put a new dock and brick on there. Woo. And it's going to be hard to figure out exactly how this changes, because there's going to be a building there where there's a trailer and the football post is going to be gone, and all that will move down a little bit, and there'll be an athletic building there. So we'll watch as that develops as well. And of course, there's what we're looking for in the end, and the athletic building in the end as well. Any questions on Clark Moore's? Okay, that's it for the construction report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Uh-huh.
All right, so next on our agenda is to approve a BG1 for the baseball and softball dugout projects. This BG1 includes dugouts, storage facilities in all 4 fields at each high school, new bleachers at Madison Southern, and a new press box at Central, which I think is almost as old as I am. And we are going to use funds that we've been saving over the past few years for athletic fields, for athletic facilities, to pay for these. I think we can all agree this is very much needed after checking it out. Does anybody have any questions or any comments on the BG1?
If you do, Tony is here. He'd be glad to cover anything on there that you want to, but we have a total construction cost estimated at $380,000, because it is 4 fields, dugouts at each, storage buildings at each, renovation of the press box and an additional bleacher set at Madison Southern. So all of that together. As you said, I know several of you were able to get out over the last couple of weeks and take a look at the facilities. And you can see that it's time for some upgrades. So
They did look bad on the photos.
I would venture to say past time for the
Yes.
upgrades. So, okay, do we have any more questions? Okay. So I need a motion to approve the BG1 for the baseball and softball dugout projects at our high schools.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, and a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries. Next on the agenda is to create and ratify a student support position. This is for Madison Southern, and it's basically a rank 4 teacher that they have requested, and it will be completely funded by the school using their Section 6 funds. So there's no effect to our general fund. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions? All right. So I need a motion to create and ratify a student support position at Madison Southern High School using their Section 6 funds.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, then next on the agenda is to create and ratify a family service worker. Are you going to talk to us
I'll
about
talk a little
that,
bit about
Mr.
it, yeah.
Neely? Okay.
Sure. We have applied for a Family Youth Service Center at Boonesboro Elementary. We tried last year and some things didn't work out the way we had planned. So what they had asked us to do was to look at our district as a whole and combine units and separate units and start looking at it that way. So what we utilized was partnering Boonesboro with Daniel Boone and allocating their numbers and their kids, and we got approved for a new center at Boonesboro, which is fantastic because they kind of been doing without, and we've just kind of piecemealing it around. But we currently have a director at Daniel Boone, so she will now hopefully get a worker that will be at Boonesboro to help Boonesboro. The funds are allocated through the Cabinet of Health Services, so nothing comes from the district, and we're just all excited. All of Frisky folks are excited to pitch in and help out whoever gets it, because Boonesboro has kids that need help too, and they've been working on it, we've been working on it, and we're just really excited. The parents are excited, and the staff is too, to be able to get a center there at Boonesboro. So
And they'll just alternate days, right?
that's correct. She'll have yes, there will be a schedule for the director and for the worker that will be at Boonesboro. Someone will be there every day. Yep. Yep. You know, the coat drives, shoe drives, wintertime, now we have somebody earmarked that we make sure that Boonesboro's kids are taken care of. Yep.
So this is basically a position based at Boonesboro, sharing with Daniel Boone.
Correct.
And we were awarded a grant.
Well, yes, that's kind of separate.
Okay.
That's called the GEER grant, GEER. A huge thanks to Amy Carmichael, who took the lead on this, and we were awarded $100,000 for the district for the GEER grant, which partners with our MTSS initiative and our Frisky folks and our psych folks to really focus on mental health, and we get to utilize that money throughout the entire district. So with our MTSS folks, our guidance counselors, and our Frisky directors and workers, we think we can make big gains in helping our kids and with mental health issues with this money. This was huge to get.
We have the best Frisky workers.
You better believe it. You better believe
They
it.
do a fabulous job.
Yep.
Okay. So I think it's important to note too, there's no impact to our general fund.
Correct.
for the
Zero.
creation of this position. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Neely.
Thank you.
So I need a motion to create and ratify a family service worker at Boonesboro Elementary.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And I bet you're up for the, are you doing this next one or?
I can't, I don't want to.
Okay, no, that's fine. You were standing there.
I'll do whatever you want me
I thought you were gonna talk again. Okay, so next is to approve our extended days for our psychologist positions.
Right, yeah, I'll speak to this real quickly, and yeah, Mr. Neely knows everything on the agenda, so he'd be able to speak to any of it as well, but, so feel free to ask him any questions you all want throughout the meeting. But this one right here, this is really just to kind of clean a couple of things up. We, at the last meeting, we approved our salary schedule, which included our increments, and it specifies the number of positions that get each increment. We also, at the same time, added a school psychologist, and that new school psychologist wasn't included in the total number. So in order to kind of fix that, as far as the extended days. And then the other piece that kind of goes along with this is our school psychologists have kind of been dividing up some of those days over the years, as new people have come in or different things. And then we also have to contract with them to do a couple of extended days outside of their contract because of evaluations that need to be performed. So this right here just kind of puts it all in a bundle, cleans it up. Everything's now on our salary schedule, so it's just an amendment to that certified increment piece. Okay? And it's simply 10 extended days for our school psychologists across the board, and then two of them will get 5 additional days beyond that for preschool evaluations.
Any questions? No? All right. So I need a motion to approve 10 extended days for our school psychologist positions.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, and then next is just to approve the second reading of our policy updates. We went over these last meeting. This is just the required second reading and approval of those. Any questions from anybody? No? Okay. So I need a motion to approve the second reading of the Madison County Schools Policy 2021 updates.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, and a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And moving right along, we need to set our meal prices. Just a quick background here. We are a CEP district. All of our students get free meals, but the state still requires that we set meal prices for the next 2 years. So, does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay. So I need a motion to set the 2021, 2022, and the 2022-2023 meal prices as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Boyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Flip my page. All right, and then next up is to approve our agreement with ACT. This is ACT testing. Basically, we're being asked to provide the ACT to all of our sophomores and juniors to be taken in the October fall administration period. The total cost for this is $68,328 based on 1,898 students in our 10th and 11th grades across the district. We will use our ESSER funds to pay for this, so there wouldn't be any impact to the general fund. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? I think this is fabulous. Giving an opportunity to our students to take this ACT and not have to charge parents to do so. And I think Dr. Gillum and I were talking, if we can keep this ball rolling, our sophomores and juniors will have an opportunity to take this exam 3 times before they graduate. So.
And as well, the parents like it because they don't have to pay. Students like it pretty well because it doesn't take up a Saturday, because we do it during the school day. So they appreciate that as well.
And they get to do it with all the freedoms.
Yeah, and another thing that we often overlook is when, as Ms. Burke spoke about equity and some of our students that are, challenged economically, taking that ACT prior to the first time is, it's a challenge for a lot of those students, and this provides that opportunity. So it's important work. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So I need a motion to approve the purchase order for the ACT.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And then next up is to approve our district funding assurances. These assurances are basically guidelines and rules that we get from the state on how we handle funding, and we're required by the state to acknowledge that we've read these and understand them before they will provide us with their funding. So, does anybody have any questions or comments? No? All right. So I need a motion to approve the assurances listed in the Kentucky Department of Education District Assurances documents as presented.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Brock and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then next on our agenda is the extension of the superintendent's contract. As we come into the final year of Dr. Gillum's current contract, we have to do a new contract per state guidelines. So there is definitely no hesitation on the part of this board in extending his contract. We have been incredibly pleased with Dr. Gillum and his leadership and the positive role model that he is for our district. So we are proposing a new contract that extends through June 30th of 2025 at the same base salary that he is currently receiving. And we have all reviewed the contract. Do we have any questions or comments? No? Okay. Then with there being none, I need a motion to approve the extension of Superintendent Gillum's contract as presented.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And then next is to name our ATC campuses. Dr. Gillum, do you want to say a little bit about that?
I certainly will. This is something we've been looking at for the last few months, and I know we mentioned it a little bit at our May board meeting, and then in June, I think it was June the 3rd, we actually held a work session to discuss and brainstorm some ideas and try to get some direction on this. And then at our June regular meeting, we invited the public to be able to make suggestions, offer any suggestions for names that they might have. And so after all of that work, we kind of landed on a recommendation. And what we wanted to do with that, certainly, it's a little bit unique. We have two facilities coming in at the same time. We have one in Richmond, one in the Berea area. And in both of these, we want to make sure that we have an identifiable name there that, that will kind of work for both sites, but at the same time distinguish both sites. So with that in mind, we recommended the names of the Ignite Academy of Madison County North Campus for the ATC that we've been referring to as the Richmond ATC. And then the Ignite Academy Ignite Academy of Madison County South Campus for the one in Berea. So that's the recommendation.
All right, do you have any questions, comments? I think we all agree we love this. To me, it flows well and incorporates really well with our existing logo, with the things that we're already doing as a district, and I think this name will help us to do some really good marketing too. So,
I
I'm
like the
excited.
inclusion of the word academy, because it's, we've always heard it as a vocational school. And academy also, to me, adds that academic portion of it instead of just skills, because these career centers are multi-use. We want to train or help train with skills for students to move forward as a skilled laborer and be successful, but it's also stepping stones for academic, for the students that want to further their academic careers. So I really enjoyed and appreciated that inclusion of academy in that. So I think it's a great name.
And I think these centers, or these academies, are going to be a little bit different. They're going to be branded a little bit different than what our high schools currently have. So I think it's going to be an
It
incredible
wasn't without a
opportunity.
lot of thought and discussion.
And a lot of work.
And a lot of
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
On these two
A
over
lot of
here.
conversations.
Yeah. right, anything else?
Okay, so I need a motion to name our Richmond ATC Ignite Academy of Madison County North Campus and our Berea ATC Ignite Academy of Madison County South Campus.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Moving right along, Mr. Woods with our monthly financial report.
Good evening.
Hello.
We'll start with the reconciliation here. All right. As of June 30th, the district ended with a reconciled balance of $67,877,331.82. You can see from that, as compared to last year, we are up. We've been talking about this for months now. We have our construction money from where we sold our bonds for the Ignite Academy North and South campuses. I'll have to get used to saying that.
Yeah, we
I'm
gotta
so
start
used to
saying
calling
that
them
now, don't
Richmond and Berea. So we've had that money ever since we sold the bonds, and we'll continue to hold that money until we finish those. So that is the major difference there. If you see on special revenue there, you see that and you go, wait, there's a negative up there. Special revenue are our grant funds. We get reimbursed for those. The state had a cutoff of the 14th of June this year that we had to send in. You cannot ask for advance funds because you have to send reports in with this. So we still had payrolls that were processing all the way through June 30th at that point. That's why we have a negative there. We have requested the money. They'll be sending it. It's just it's a timing issue. It's one of those things that I've talked about when we hit June. I always have to plan for cash flow and other things. This is one of the reasons why. We have to send out a report and we have to wait for the state to send us the money back. Of the reconciled balance, the district does have $5,740,990.65 in investments, still holding there where it's been for months. You did have a copy of the balance sheet and the revenue and expense report in your packet. We're on target. What I can say about this is I will bring you a report after we send in an unaudited report. After we send in to the state, we have to close out by the 25th of this month and send in our reports to the state for where June lies. This is where it's at as of last week. We are still making entries. We're still making adjustments. We still have the state money coming in. We will have to post that as a receivable. There's a whole lot of entries still left to be done. So after we get that done, I always bring a report, it's usually in August, to the board showing where we sit before we go into audit. So you have a little better idea of where we're at for year end. Any questions for the financial report?
Fabulous job as usual.
Thank you.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the financial reports as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Broad. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Woods is now going to talk to us about the ESSER spending plan.
Well, I'm pleased to get to speak to you about this. You know, it's great to have community members here that speak on their concerns, and we love to hear those concerns and to try and be able to make sure that we incorporate that as much as possible. You had in your packet a copy of the proposed budget. This is our first go at this. I will say that as we go into it. These are never locked in stone. We can, if we see that we need something as we progress through this, we can change with the state our budget and address needs as they arise. So, you know, as we've discovered from this pandemic, what we know today may change months from now or a year from now of what our needs are. But so this is where we stand right now, what we think we need to do. With the ESSER ARP, as they are known, with these funds, there's a 20% requirement for targeted services. That 20% would be $4,398,331 based on our total allocation. In this budget, we do have some additional staffing to address those, and the targeted services are they're very specific based on what the state says. You're required to spend on targeted evidence-based services. So we have to have evidence-based practices to meet these services for our students. And we want to do that the best possible. So everything that we've put in here will be evidence-based learning targets. So we do have additional staffing. We talked about that the last time, some interventionist positions that the board approved to move forward with. And they will be working in the schools to look at gaps in our student population for that specific school. So each school has a person there, K through 8, that is looking at the gaps in that school. And then they're working with the district on a district initiative to meet those gaps. We do have reading and math intervention programs built into this, behavioral intervention programs, any needs we may need there. I will say that in this budget, it is a 3-year plan. We do have summer school continued for the next 3 years. We are funding to continue what you've seen progress in this year. We want to continue keeping that ball rolling, doing it for the next 3 years, meeting those gaps, and helping kids move to the next level, not just finishing where they were at for that year. We do have some money in there for curriculum and then some academic program support. All of this is going to meet the targeted services definition. I told you that the requirement was $4.398 million that we have to spend. We've got $9.4 million identified to spend on targeted services. We're way above what the state requirement is on this. We want to make sure that we meet the needs of our students in Madison County. You can see down through there, we have some items that don't meet the definition for the schools that we are providing to schools. They don't meet the definition of targeted services, but we do have some allocation money for schools to help them out with some of their needs to meet some of this. It won't meet the direct services portion piece, but it will help relieve some of the burden of providing the extra services. We do have some furniture, technology, and equipment. Some of the staffing that we've had throughout the pandemic, it's to continue some of that so that we can move on. It's not additional staffing. We do have some money in there for HVAC upgrades for clean air. These would be clean air projects to meet standards for the pandemic, for any kind of upgrades we might need there. Teacher supplies. These were supplies that were on school lists that feel a little more less like the student supplies, but more like some teacher supplies like expo markers, things of that nature. Those will not be on our school list this year. We're providing money out of this, so we're not asking parents to purchase any of those. We're going to get those out of this and make sure that the classrooms have plenty of supplies in there so that they can meet the needs of all the students. And we don't want to put any additional burden on any of our parents. And then there's some instructional support money in there as well. Overall, I think it's a good go at the first time at this. We want to get our application approved, get it in. GMAP is it's Grants Management Application Program for the state of Kentucky. It's where we have to enter our plan in. We want to be able to get that in, get it in timely, and then have a good plan and be able to adjust it as needed. What questions do you have?
So this is kind of like the ESSR working budget.
Yes. Yes.
We can make adjustments as we.
Yes, and you may notice It's 21.9 million. The state had a miscalculation. They've notified us in the last week that we got cut nearly $1 million, but that was statewide. They miscounted some folks in their numbers. They double counted some, so they had to make adjustments in the funding. So we did get reduced a little over $900,000.
So just a couple of things I want to double check. So we're talking about a three-year period a year.
Yes, ma'am.
And my understanding is it's like a reimbursement type system. The state's not going to just automatically give us this money. We have to.
Once we get our.
have to spend it.
Yes, for the most part. Now, once we get our plan in place, they are going to fund us a portion of this. We would have ways, and I can manipulate the funds around to make sure we have cash flow. But there are many districts that they can't do that. So what the state has done is once you get your plan in, it's been accepted and approved, and you've met all the standards, they are going to fund a portion of that up front so that you have some working capital, let's say, to get the projects rolling.
And then you'll need to show proof that you've spent that money.
Yes, we
before they
send
give
in
it.
once a month, twice a month. We send in, we can do it up to 2 times a month. We can send in the report.
I just want to make sure people understand we're not getting a $21 million check from the state of Kentucky.
No, it'll be spread out over the 3 years. They will give us that portion up front. It's a small portion so that we will have cash flow to work with, but after that, it'll be a reimbursement basis. So we'll get to spend that portion that they've given us, and then from there on, it's spend your money and then request funds.
I know it's taken meticulous planning because when you try to hire staff, I mean, we've got this money for 3 years. If we hire staff and then backfill staff in 3 years, this money's no longer there. So it takes such planning to try to figure out how to get the best utilization of this money with the staff that we can add without trying to negatively affect our staff.
Sure. Yes, and we have to, like you said, we have to be looking past 3 years. And, you know, there are going to be some good programs that we're going to be running out of this. How do we sustain those years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 so that you get long-term growth out of this, not just, you know, we don't want to go out and spend all this money in 3 years and not make a positive impact for multiple years. 3 years is not enough time to recover from this pandemic. We want to make sure that this is a sustained growth and that we can do this properly and that we can get out there in future years and still be providing the same services.
Well, I really appreciate you all putting money in there for teacher supplies because, you know, parents are burdened right now, and I always hated the list that had that extra stuff on it. Really gritted my teeth, but understanding, knowing that somebody can help, let them help get that supplies. But right now, parents won't see that on the list, and it won't be something discouraging as soon as the kids get back here. So I
Sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah, they should not see that on the list.
Well, I'll let
Sometimes
you know.
our schools put out, well, sometimes our stores, our local stores, don't receive updated lists. They put out the same ones they had last year. So we're going to try to make sure that they have the correct list. Yeah, so.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from Mr. Woods? I appreciate your hard work on this, and I think we all agree that the sole purpose of these ESSER funds is to better our students, which is going to better our district and our community. So I appreciate all the hard work you guys have put into this. Okay, so if we don't have any questions, I just need a motion to approve the ESSER spending plan as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you.
And next up is Dr. Gillum with his superintendent report.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with some news that's hot off the press. And by hot off the press, I mean about 2 hours ago, the state of Kentucky announced their finalists for Kentucky Teacher of the Year. And a Madison County teacher, Mr. Nick Harris at Madison Kindergarten Academy, is one of the finalists for that award. the state recognizes 24 teachers as finalists, 8 at the elementary level, 8 at the middle school level, and 8 at the high school level. So Mr. Harris from MKA is one of the 8 finalists at the elementary level. And considering that I believe there are about 35,000 elementary teachers, being in the top 8's a pretty good honor. You all may remember, Nick, when we did our presentation on virtual learning and how we were meeting that. Mr. Harris is one that presented that evening. So congratulations to Mr. Nick Harris and all the great work they're doing out there at MKA. If you're wondering, the winner of that award will be announced on September the 9th. So, all right. So moving on, there's some people out there that wonder, what do school personnel do during the summertime when kids aren't in school? Well, the first thing I would say is our schools aren't closed to kids in the summertime. If you go by, you'll see kids coming and going all the time. We have lots of sports going on. We have extracurricular activities, our FFAs, our bands. We have, obviously, our summer school program, as Dr. Hunter mentioned, over 2,000 students involved in that this year. So they're, first of all, they're not closed to kids at all. But even in addition to all those things where kids come in and do things in the building, if you take just since school ended, we had our graduations in May. Since that time, our food service area has already served over 50,000 meals. Our maintenance staff, they work every day, repairing our facilities, delivering materials, supplies, mulching playgrounds, getting them ready, painting and doing HVAC repairs. Our technology department, they've been receiving all of these Chromebooks that we've been ordering. They've been processing those. They've been doing upgrades to our networks. Our achievement team, Dr. Hunter's given you several things, talked about several of the plans that you've heard. All of that work has to be done over the summer, planning all those interventions, doing our professional learning, setting all of that up, hiring achievement coaches and getting those trained. Our finance department, just in the last few weeks, they've processed 9 payrolls. We pay all of our people over the summer. They had to process 9 payrolls just the last couple of weeks. As well, preparing the 21-22 budget, developing and assisting our assisted in developing our ESSER plan, and then also we're getting ready for an audit with our new auditor coming in. So they're busy. Our custodians, they're in there waxing floors and getting schools ready to start back. Our bus drivers been preparing or providing transportation during the summer, and then our folks that work in the Office of Transportation, they have to develop all of our routes for the coming school year. They do all of that. They're ordering and bringing in new buses. They're doing the maintenance on the buses, so they're all ready to go. When you look at the nearly 300 buses we have in the district, that's a lot. If you just look at just changing tires, that's a lot of work. Our preschool staff, we've mentioned 2 or 3 times about them screening and doing the evals for getting ready to enroll new people, to enroll new students. Our principals interviewing new candidates for positions and hiring, getting their schedules ready, all of those other things that go with getting school ready. And then last but not least, certainly our teachers. I mean, people think that teaching is a 9-month job and you get the summers off. Well, I've been in this nearly 30 years and I've never seen it, because in the summertime, teachers have to get do all of the work that it takes to get ready for the next year. A lot of them are doing master's programs or rank programs. They're also attending a variety of PDs. This room right here we use for professional trainings, and it's busy all summer long with teachers coming in and out constantly. So I just wanted to mention that, while there really isn't a downtime for many of those positions, and summer is, oftentimes some of the busiest times of the year. But I do hope that all of our folks across Madison County get a little bit of time to relax, take a break, get away from it, and spend some time with their family and friends. And so, obviously lots of things going on. As for me, I've been pretty busy here the last few weeks myself. I appreciate Ms. Burke. She's for being here tonight and making the comments, and I want to thank her and the Pritchard Committee for hosting our community meeting on June 14th that was held out at the public library. Thanks to the library as well for providing the community rooms. Very nice place to have that meeting. So I know the Pritchard Committee's done a lot of work around educating, informing, and getting parents and community members involved in how we can best use these funds to really make a difference in the lives of kids. Other items of note, on June the 7th, I took a trip up to over to Moorhead, Kentucky, to visit the App Harvest facility there, and went with our ag teachers from Madison Southern and Madison Central. App Harvest is providing container projects, or containers for both of our high schools, and so they got up there, and the teachers did some program planning and some planning on how to actually teach those pieces. But we got to tour that facility. It's remarkable. That's the same piece that we're getting here on the in the Richmond area in Madison County. So they're going to grow lots of tomatoes. Then some other things. Participated in the KASA Government Affairs Team planning with legislators on June the 8th. On June 17th, I spoke to the Education Committee of the of our local NAACP chapter. And on the 21st of June, I participated in the Berea College Summer Institute with teachers concerning learning loss. So, and then this week, I've been working with KDE Facilities Task Force on some of those things. So, definitely been a busy month. And during the middle of all of that, I did have Mr. Neely. He and I worked together with a couple of site-based councils on the principal selection process. And so tonight, I want to introduce to you two of our newest principals. I'm going to ask them to come forward and just kind of come to the podium so you can see them, and you all may have some questions for them. But first, I'm going to introduce our new principal at Kirksville Elementary, and that is Mr. Derek Bussell. Mr. Bussell has been an educator for the past 15 years. He served as a special education teacher, an elementary school teacher, a PE teacher, and an elementary principal, all of that in Rockcastle County Schools. Mr. Bussell is married to Leslie, and they live here in Richmond. So, Mr. Derek Bussell. And our other new principal, named at Shannon Johnson Elementary, is Mr. Josh Shockley. He's been an educator as well for 15 years, served as an elementary school teacher and an assistant middle school principal. He started his career in Gary County. He's been at Foley Middle School as assistant principal for the last few years. He served as an after-school coordinator, an academic team coach, a math intervention specialist, and he's also served on the site-based council at schools. So he is married to Rhonda, and they have two children, Lauren, who is age 7, and Keaton, age 9. So welcome, gentlemen, and we appreciate having you here in Madison County. Congratulations. If any of you all have questions for them, feel free, but that's all my superintendent report.
I just want to welcome you guys. We're so glad to have you guys on board. Mr. Shockley has been on the board. You're just in a different chair. But anyway, we're so glad to have you guys in these roles. We know you'll do a great job, and I'm excited to have you.
And we're here to support you guys.
Yes,
Any way you need
absolutely.
it.
If you need something, you just let us know. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you all very much. All right, thank you all for being here. Okay, so Kirksville Blue Jays, there's your new principal, and Shannon Johnson Hawks. There you go. There they are. Okay, all right, so any comments from the board? No? Okay, so we need to head into executive session, so I need a motion to enter into executive session to discuss potential real property acquisition or sale for which the publicity at the present stage would affect the value. This is per KRS 61.8101B, and to discuss pending litigation for which disclosure would compromise posture. This is per KRS 61.8101C.
So move.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. We are in executive Back in session from our executive session, and we have no action to take. So I need a motion to.
We have to vote to come out of executive session.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All
Redo.
All good.
I need a motion to vote to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Oops.
Or second.
We have a motion by Ms. Burford, a second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have no action to take from executive session. So now I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Coyle, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.